I'm Victor Emuan, and you listen to the Bola Bola Show. Peace.
Welcome to the next new episode of the Bola Bola Show. I'm Bala here to start our wonderful show, and me assisted by two deadly partnership, Steven and Elvin. And I'll start with Steven first. Steven, how are things going on with you today?
Hey Bala, hey everyone. Everything is going fine, pretty much as usual. But as long as there's football to talk about, I think everything should be okay.
Yes, correct. Football is always there to talk about. How about you, Elvin? Any surprise for today?
Hey guys, hey Vala guys. Well, everything has been awesome. Could not ask for more this season. Staying healthy, eating almost entirely home cooked food. Which is a which is a plus point. Yeah, and yep. So everything's great. So
All right.
yep.
All right, good. But I think, Elvin, I think today we got a wonderful guest. Maybe can you explain or at least introduce to him to us to this wonderful to a wonderful group of people here?
Yeah, so exactly. So and today in our show, we got our friend Victor from Nigeria. So the Bola Bola Show are pleased to welcome Victor Emuan on board for today's episode. So Victor, how has it been going for you?
It's been going okay. Thankful to God for life and the positive vibe around.
Yeah, fantastic. So with having Victor on board, the reason is the Bola Bola Show today. We are getting into the African continent. Okay, so let's talk about the 1996 Nigeria team that created history by winning the Olympics, a first for any African country. In fact, during the time in 1996 when Nigeria achieved this honor, powerhouses like Argentina and Brazil have not won this elusive Olympic medal yet. So let's deep dive into this tournament, and we'll be back right after this.
Okay, let's kickstart this episode by looking at what was going on in the pre-tournament. I mean, before the Olympics started. Now, as you all know, that earlier the year '96, there was the African Cup of Nations in which Nigeria, surprisingly, apparently due to political decision, decided not to take part in that competition, which was historically won by South Africa. And this also comes at a time when Nigeria were by far considered like one of the most entertaining team. A reason because of the impact they made in USA '94. We don't have to go deeper into that because you know exactly what happened. So Victor, I just wanted to ask you, like going into the Olympics, I mean, what was the feeling among the public in Nigeria? I mean, what was their perception on whether Nigeria, like how far can they go after, giving such a great impression in USA '94?
Yeah, I would say they very much anticipated a good result for the fact that in the years past, the performance from the national team had been really explicit for the fact that we actually conquered the '94 Nations Cup, and also performance for the World Cup as well was quite okay compared to even other European countries in the World Cup. So in as much as the politics was more to a Bismarck in the society, the Nigerian national team was still able to keep in good shape psychologically, physically, and otherwise. For the fact that most of the players were playing in Europe and in other African clubs, the likes of JJ Okocha, Benedict Hirora, and Victor Peva, which he was nicknamed at a certain time the Prince of Monaco because of his performance with AS Monaco at that time as a player. Pretty much in that era, he was considered to be one of the top strikers in the world,
Yep.
having likes of Zinedine Zidane in midfield in the League One, and having him compete with rivals like Zinedine Zidane and few other African players as well as European players. So it was very much anticipated, but the fact was, because we didn't participate in 1996 Nations Cup, it even boosted us more. It boosted the ego of people to want to achieve more. And being the fact that the young lad, Wanko Kanu, who was assigned as later assigned as the captain for the national team in the Olympics, he said he had a dream, and in his dream he saw Nigeria lifting the trophy. So it was more like a boost for the nation as well as the team.
Okay, interesting.
Oh wow,
Wow.
interesting.
Okay.
So Victor, now we get into the coach, Joe Bonfrey. So his approach was very different as compared to previous coaches and all that, where the team actually, he took the Nigeria team and he prepared them in a remote location away from all the normal distractions back in Nigeria. So at the same time also, there was a lots of turmoil going on or faced by the coach during this time, in the training camp, and many issues cropped up, like lack of funds, and I understood that some players were using their own credit cards to pay for transportation and stuff like that. And to top this up, in fact, Coach Bonfrey was even sacked at one moment of time, but then all the players somehow rallied together and got him reinstated. So amidst all this drama that was going on, maybe you can share some insights or on your thoughts on this matter.
The first thing there was, although most people give the credit to Bonfrey, I would actually say half the job was done by Westerhoff, because Westerhoff was the one who actually, their previous coach who won the Nations Cup with Nigeria and also took Nigeria to the World Cup. It did it may be 80% of the job, because he structured the national team, and the mentality of the national team was more into brotherhood than just playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more like, even if they had differences in terms of their personality, race, and whatsoever, it was more to, the minute they come to play, the brotherhood knot was already been tied. So Bonfrey, as a successor, actually just took the role of Westerhoff, and it was more like the legacy was already been laid. So he blended into having a good relationship with the players in the national team, and also for the fact that they both were from the same background, being Dutch. It was pretty much easier for the players to adapt to the kind of personality for Bonfrey.
I see. Okay. All right.
So in regards to him being sacked and reinstated,
Yeah.
it was more to, the players were eager to play, and they already built trust in this coach. It's more like you trust in someone because you've already seen the performance of the person. You know what the person can produce, and then you being promised something else. Like they say the evil you know is better than the evil you don't know. So it's more to, they knew his ins and outs. They knew how to survive as a team with him, compared to someone who they didn't know initially. They couldn't bond, because in the real sense of football, you get to understand certain players might not blend with the coach, or certain coach might not blend with the players. It even becomes worse when the player doesn't blend with the coach, because they on purpose try to play funny on the pitch just to get the bad name to the coach. So it was more to, the players knew what they were going after. They wanted to create a name for themselves, and they knew the person they had as a coach, that he was the only one to lead them as a shepherd. So they had to do everything possible for them to reinstate him.
Okay, great.
Interesting, interesting.
Okay, Victor, talking about the squad, this Nigeria team, I always reminds me of the way they celebrate the goals whenever they score. I think it's one of the classic celebration. I think I even do it with LB in the classroom during when we studied together. So
Yeah, the canoe celebration.
yes, it's very flamboyant and it's exciting. But as exciting as they are, their team also is fully packed with a lot of talents.
Yeah.
Taribo West, Sunday Olise, Okocha, Babayaro, Babaginda, Amokachin, and of course Noan Kanu. And these are what we call the households of certain European giants as well.
Yeah.
So with this kind of dream team, perhaps would like to share with us the tactics used by Bonfrey, by how did they actually maximizing their potential and how they blend as a team?
Okay. The first thing that you don't understand in the formation being used by Bonfrey at that time was a tricky formation. He actually go for at times he go for 3-4-3, meaning 3 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 3 attackers as well, inclusive of Kanu Wankwo, Amakachi, and also Victor Ekpeba. But in other games or within the game, he takes a swift turn and he goes for 4-3-3, which is more to he plays Babayaro, the left winger, left fullback. He plays him initially on the left midfield, and then when he sees the Nigeria is being pressurized, he takes him back to the defense, and then it's more like they interpolate himself and Oparaku. Oparaku takes his position. Babangida comes back to the position of Oparaku. So it was more like it was very difficult for the opponent's coach to actually draw a game plan because in a split second they're playing 4-3-3. In another split second they're playing 3-4. Yeah, it's like the formation kept on changing, and the fact that you had players who could actually adapt to positions, different positions, like Wanko Kanu could actually play as a center forward. Wanko Kanu could also play as a left forward, a left winger. Ikpeba could also play as a left winger. He could also play as a right winger. It was more to, even if they focus, because you see in most of the games in the Olympics, Amakichi didn't perform well because most attention was on him. And the only people who performed well was more to Wanko Kanu, Babayaro, and Okocha, because these were the 3 people that actually played the the sneaky kind of tactic from Bonfrey.
Is it one of the reasons why they get, like I say, during the big games, especially like Argentina, Brazil, they concede a lot of goals because I think, is it the confusion, the tactics, or is it they keep on utilizing the people in and out, basically like midfield to right?
If you started the first loss, the only loss in the Olympics to Brazil, you'd actually see the players and the coach himself was actually trying to adapt to this formation and to these tactics. So it was more to, it worked for them for the first game, it worked for them for the second game, but in the game of Brazil, it didn't quite work for them. So they had to go back to the drawing books to ensure that the next game they were going to play against Mexico was actually going to be a game that they can actually utilize these tactics and come out with good results.
Interesting. And of course, that Bala has mentioned, that the squad was filled with so many superstars, even though from under 23 side, these were all, well-seasoned superstars who already established in Europe. If you have to pick one, who would be your favorite player? And maybe you want to say why this player is special to you?
I would definitely pick Wanko Kanu.
Wanko Kanu. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Because he played he had already won the Champions League with Ajax, and being the fact he played with all the nationalities. He was able to understand how they think and how the tactics is. When you play with European teams, what to expect if it's a passing game, if it's a close marking game, if you're playing with South American teams, what to expect. So he had there. That's the reason they made him the captain for the team. And being the fact he was young, I think he was just about 19 or 20 thereabout at that time. So he had the zeal in him to success, and also for the fact that he was the one who said he had a dream winning, lifting the trophy. So people kind of put the responsibility on him because you dreamt it, so you go for it. You lead us. It's more like the Joseph kind of story.
Okay, all right. Well, with that said, we'll be back with the next segment whereby we will look into the Olympic tournament itself. So stay tuned.
In the last minute, with a goal from their captain, Kanu.
Well, I talked about Kanu providing a little bit of something special in this game because I hadn't seen him, but I wouldn't call it special, but it was very, very important.
Through the legs. What does he do here? Actually, it was a brilliant finish. He just teed it up for himself. He had to try and lift it somehow. And as he swiveled, he managed to help it over the goalkeeper.
Up it goes. Very clever finish. Very clever finish.
And what a finish. 3-3, final minute. Well,
Hi guys, welcome back to our show again. So now we're talking about the tournament. Victor, the group of Nigeria was Group D, consists of teams from South America, Brazil, Nigeria from Africa, of course, and not to forget Japan and Hungary. The look straightforward, especially with the talents from Brazil and Nigeria.
Yeah.
But I don't think that group looks easy because top three teams ended up with 6 points.
Yeah.
Brazil, Nigeria, and Japan sharing all the points, and Brazil and Nigeria nicking to the last game. So after the defeat against Brazil, the final group game, did you think there was something missing? Basically, that it's more kind of relative, check reality, because I think when they did well against Hungary and also Japan. So once they meet Brazil, as usual, the powerhouse, they usually beat this so-called this average or young exciting team. So what was your thought, or is there something expected missing from this? What are your thoughts about this?
We also have to understand that the team were mostly young kids, like 17. I think Babayaro was 17 at that time. Wanko Kanu was about 19, and you had like JJ Okocha. Basically, these were young people who actually they tend to lose attention at any time. They get distracted. So the first game played, you would understand that they were distracted. The first game played, the second game played, they had already gathered their pace. The third game being played, that was played against Brazil, that they eventually lost. You'd understand that although they were trying to pick up the pieces, it was already too late because Brazil already understood the pattern of play. And each time they changed, they couldn't work with the script, or it just wasn't working for them. So it was more like an eye opener for the team as well as the coach.
Okay, great. All right. So once the group stages are over, so Nigeria then have to get past Mexico 2-0. I think that was quite comfortable victory there for Nigeria, right? So despite after just losing that game to Brazil 1-0 before that, so now they get past Mexico, and then now and in the semis they get a chance again to meet Brazil. Okay, and what a game this turned out to be, right? Coming back from 3-1 down and to equalize very, very late, and in fact go all the way and win it on the golden goal. Can you just put us through your thoughts on this match? To me, I think probably this is the best ever Olympic football match. And one thing that I really remember about this match was the coolness and the composure of Kanu injury time in the 90th minute, equalizing, scoring that equalizer goal to make it 3-3. It's like, it's so sublime right in front of the goalkeeper. How cool was that, Victor?
I would answer to that to say 50% of the job was done by the Nigerian fans because on the pitch that day, most of them had the song which was being chanted. All we are saying, give us one goal. So each time the Nigerian player had the ball on their foot, they were more like being propelled to do something with it. So although the first half didn't turn out well, when they went back into the dressing room during the talk with the coach and everything, they came out. They saw even they were trailing 3-1. The fans there were still propelling them to do better. So it was more to first was more to the fans with the positive vibe. Secondly was more to the experience. And you spoke about Kanu Nwankwo. He basically had the experience for the fact that he'd won the Champions League also with Finidi Jordan, another Nigerian. So it was more like the experience was there, the zeal was there, the hunger was there, and the team played together not just as a team but as a brotherhood. It was more to a brotherhood for them, and being the fact that Nigeria as a country then was going through some kind of political issues. They held the responsibility of the Nigerian people to come back to Nigeria with good results, more like a compensation for the nation for all the loss and whatever has been happening in the past years.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Okay.
And of course, when the semi-final draw was made, I think it was obvious that everybody in the world would have wanted the Argentina-Brazil Olympic final. I mean, you don't really get that in the World Cup, but obviously, people would like the prospect of that happening in the Olympic. But it didn't happen as Nigeria, stunned Brazil, a very star-studded Brazil to be in fact, with Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos, Juninho, Rivaldo in that team, and the final against Argentina. I'm sure you remember what happened 2 years earlier when a certain Claudio Caniggia broke Nigeria's heart. But in this game, again, you guys were trailing 2-1, 16 minutes left, and again, another amazing comeback from Nigeria. I mean, what was your feeling like? I mean, to be honest, when I saw what happened when the third goal went in, I realized, there's no way. It's sort of like destiny was in Nigeria's hand to win the Olympic gold. But I just want to ask your thoughts on this game.
The only word to describe it would be melancholy. But if you want me to go into details, I'll be crazy, excited, elated, because I could remember, although I was still young, I could remember my dad watching the game, and it was actually crazy in the house. We had people screaming in the house. We had the entire neighborhood screaming and stuff, because not just upon winning the game, it was even upon scoring the second goal. Then we were like, oh, there's hope. And the chant kept on going. All we were saying, give us one goal. And then another goal came in, and the chant kept on still going. And we're like, until the end of the game, people were still singing, people were still chanting, people were still singing. So it's more like in sportsmanship, there are basically three criteria to victory. The first would be practice. The second would be teamwork. The third definitely has to be the energy surrounding you. So I'll still say, like I said earlier, it was more to the energy from the fans. It was more to the energy from the Nigerian people. And it got to a point in time that it wasn't just Nigerians supporting the Nigerian national team. It was more to Africa as a continent supporting the Nigerian national team, and certain parts of Europe supporting the Nigerian national team. So it was something really crazy at that time.
Okay, all right. But by the way, just Victor, in case you didn't know, maybe if Elvin has ever shared this with you, most of us in Malaysia didn't have a chance to watch that Olympic final because we were having a nationwide blackout.
Oh yeah, the historic nationwide blackout, man.
Blackout,
Yeah.
and and then when the next day when I saw the highlights, and then when I realized, man, what a I mean, yes, I definitely, all three of us should have been heartbroken being fans of Argentina. But again, we missed such a great football final. Something that very seldom happens on the World Cup, but it always happens in the Olympics. Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Without that, we will go into our final segment of this episode.
Hi guys, welcome back to this Bola Bola show. Basically, this is the final chapter of this wonderful journey of Nigeria winning the 1996 Olympics. So we're opening up to the floor, basically with myself, Elvin and Steven, of course, on this. What are the moments or what are the thoughts? Of course, let me start with. Seems like Nigeria lucky ground is US because I think the first time they qualified for World Cup was in 1994. Whereby they played in, I think they lost to Argentina, but I think they gave a good fight up to Italy. They only lost last minute, they lost to Baggio's Italy. But of course, the Olympic they did well. And for me, this entire Nigeria squad is basically what I interested was because the African continent, which often we looked as what do you call that third world country, and in terms of at least the footballing world, started to emerge, especially after the Cameroon were beating Argentina and they went up to quarterfinal in 1990 World Cup. So I think this continuous process whereby Nigeria did it, and of course they went extra mile, in fact actually winning it. I'm proud, of course, beating Argentina, but it's a proud moment I think for all of us, especially the lower side of this world. But also don't forget that also during the group stage, Japan did beat Brazil. Just for the record, Japan did Brazil. Yep. So this entire Olympic was full of upsets, and basically a lot of third world country was doing very well against the so-called the big guns. Let's open up this. Elvin, anything to say about this?
Yeah, actually, interesting enough, you mentioned about Cameroon just now, Bala, then 1990 and all that. But in fact, what Nigeria did was definitely a defining moment for African football because 4 years later Cameroon won the Olympic gold as well, yes. Right, in the next Olympic. And to me, this Nigeria squad, with the squad that they had and all that, the performance was definitely justified. The never say die attitude is amazing, and the coolness. I still go back to the coolness and the calmness of the players. Especially the Kanu, in the semi-finals and all that. So and of course in the final as well, the two most important games when it mattered the most, the Nigeria players stepped up, and what a great achievement for African football and for Nigeria.
Yeah. Anyway, I would like to ask Victor. I mean, winning the Olympics, of course, it sort of like propelled African football and gave African football a very high standard. And pretty much, I think that whole squad, or should I say the majority of the squad, was in fact also there when Nigeria qualified for France 98. Was there any expectation that, that finally an African country could possibly, say, win the World Cup?
There was, and there still is, but the thing is, there's a lot to think about it. Those days compared to currently, first is the politics in the Football Association, and secondly, you have to think about players' will to play. Case in point, Alvin said earlier, he highlighted earlier, some of the players during this time, because they weren't paid much, they had to pay for their own hospitality, they had to pay for their own medical treatment. In this current day, you wouldn't see any player who's going to do that because they're more worried about their progress outside the country for their clubs than the national team. So, and the fact is, Europe and all the countries outside Africa, they pay way more than the African clubs. So most of the players wouldn't want to risk their career playing for the country, getting injured, and ending their career at the end of the day, they just go back to ground zero. So it's more to like what you said earlier, the zeal from the players, the commitment, and also the right word to use would be the utmost faithful of the players to the nation and also to the team.
Okay, all right. Okay.
For me, basically, this game is, I think, especially Nigeria's journey to the final and the Olympic gold medal. I would say, basically it's one of the defining moments, I think, in the history of football. Because I think if you take a movie, I think this is the biggest underdogs after Greece. But of course,
Yeah.
Greece was before '96. But well, it's a remarkable achievement.
Yeah, I mean, it is a remarkable achievement by anyway. Even though the perception in Europe is always Olympic football isn't that very important. That's why you sometimes you realize the country representing UEFA in the Olympics are not necessarily the actual representation of the big countries in Europe, but when in other parts of the world, South America, Africa, Asia, the Olympic it means a lot. It means a lot. The Olympic gold means a lot. I mean, even in Uruguay, they still regard their Olympic medal they won in 1924 and 28 as part of their world
Greatest ever.
world title, which is why they carry 4 stars in their badge on top of winning the World Cup of 1930 and 1950. So, it is very important for most continents outside of Europe.
I mean, in fact, even for Brazil, also this was their holy grail, right? That they were chasing for so long, and and expected, I think, to win it to win it for so long. But Nigeria pipped them to it, and in fact knocked them out to win it.
Yeah.
The other thing you also have to consider is like I said earlier, there are 3 criteria to victory in sportsmanship: the preparation, the teamwork, and also the management, which is the coach. You would understand that although Argentina had a good team, Brazil had a good team, and Brazil's had a good team ever since. They still don't perform well. Even recently, they still don't perform well. It's not that the individual skill is not there. It's more to they don't have the right person who be able to blend into the team as a coach to not just make them individual players, but to make them as a team. So if there's no team in the national team, then there's nothing to play with. Everyone plays for their own individual benefit. When they play individually, it just comes to I do my part as long as I get paid. You do your part, you get paid, and obviously if it's divided, then it's not going to work because during the Olympics, Sunday Olise did say at that time his role was actually to cover up for 3 of the players, which were JJ Okocha and also Babaginda. And at times when they played the formation when Victor Epeva was on the left wing, he had to cover up for 3 of them. More like they attack, he has to stay in the central midfield and also to defend. So if the teamwork is not there, the sacrifice to say, okay, you go take the fame, and I'll just say if anything goes wrong, I'm here to defend it. Definitely, you're not going to have a team because if everyone wants to get the spotlight and no one is sacrificing their own glory for the other, then it's not going to be a team. It's just going to be more to an individual sport.
Talking about sports team and Victor, I would just like to quote this from JJ Okocha after they won the game. He said that this means everything to Nigeria. Football is one thing in Nigeria that brings us together. For the people back in my country, this is maybe the happiest day of their lives. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not sure how old were you that time, but how was Africa continent or even Nigeria on that beautiful day?
I think I was about 6 or 7 years at that time, and being at that age, there's something Nigerians call it's football per se, but they call it monkey post. you actually make a goal post, and the goal post would be a space of maybe 2 feet, and then
Okay.
someone has to be on the goalpost as a goalkeeper, as small as 2 feet is. So your job as a striker is actually try to get the ball past the goalkeeper. So it was more like this was the sport that people knew. It wasn't more to an advanced uh, field where you have like green grass and stuff. People play anywhere. You just needed maybe uh, less than 100 feet, and you can actually play uh, football. So it was something every family played. You had like my dad those days used to play with us as kids. So it's like it was an individual sport for everyone that everyone got accustomed to. So being the fact that it was something to uh, maybe bring closure for the loss they had due to politics and all the kind of political related issue. When they won the Olympics, it was more to an achievement, not just for the team, not just for Nigeria, but also for Africa as a whole.
Okay, all right. Okay, guys. Any last words?
Yeah, so thank you, thank you, Victor, for coming on board today and sharing this wonderful insight on the memorable victory of Nigeria in 1996. So great to have you, man, Victor. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Victor, for actually spending time with us and telling the journey of Nigeria in the 96 Olympics. I think it's
It's a
a very
pleasure.
memorable, and directly hearing from a Nigerian itself, you can see how much you actually enjoyed that moment or even the day. Thanks for your time and sharing this experience with us.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Victor. I mean, I can only, us Malaysian can only imagine what it's like to be in a Nigerian shoe back in '96. I can only think, I mean, words can't describe that feeling. So, I mean, thank you for sharing us your insight on everything about what was that Olympic team was all about, which I think will definitely have a special place in football history. A lot of stuff that we learned. I mean, there's a lot of things that we learned today. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, by the way, Victor, I mean, what is your background, by the way? What do you do so that, maybe one of our listeners may want to get in touch with you?
I have an IT background. I just rounded up civil engineering. I do music also.
Oh, okay. So, interesting. So, any albums coming out soon?
Yeah, before August.
Okay,
Let's hope.
okay. All right.
Okay, fantastic. Yep.
Good luck. Good luck
Good
in
luck
your
on that.
venture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good luck.
Okay, guys, that's it. We will end the Bola Bola show for this episode, and we will look forward to our next episode coming out soon.
There is the final whistle. There is a historic moment. Nigeria become the first African nation to claim gold in the men's football. They beat Argentina by 3.
Okay, guys, in a 1, 2, 3.
Majulah!
Bola,
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 Honduras.
bola.